Hi friends, I am Shasini, who is undergraduate in Java Institute. Today I am going to talk about Web Component Development 2, which is also known as WCD2. In this video series, I am going to talk about some points in WCD2 in 5 videos. This is the first video, and you can also check out my WCD1 video series from my channel. Let's start. First, I am going to talk about Java Server Page, also known as JSP. What is Java Server Page? Jakarta Server Pages is a Java standard technology that developers use to write dynamic, data-driven web pages for Java web applications. JSP is built on top of the Java servlet. Specifications and is one of the Java web technologies included for ongoing support and upgrades in Jakarta EE. JSP and servlets typically work together, especially in older Java web applications. From a coding perspective, the most obvious difference between JSP and servlet is that with servlets you write Java code and then embedded client-side markup into the code. With JSP, you start with the client-side script or markup, then embed JSP tags to connect your page to the Java backend. Think of JSP as a way to write markup with superpowers for interfacing with the backend. Usually, markup like HTML is sent to the client where it interacts with the backend server via JavaScript. JSP preprocesses the HTML with special commands to access and use server capabilities, then sends that compiled page to the client. JSP in Jakarta EE. Following the release of Java EE 8, Oracle moved stewardship of Java Enterprise Edition to the Eclipse Foundation. Going forward, the Java Enterprises platform was rebranded as Jakarta EE. Along with the servlet and JSF specifications, JSP or Jakarta Server Pages is now part of Jakarta EE. JSP and JSF. JSP is closely related to JSF or Jakarta Server Faces. JSF is a Java specification for building model view controller web application. It is the standard for Java frameworks like Eclipse, Mojave, MyFaces, and Primifaces. While it's not uncommon to see JSP used as the front end for older JSP applications. Faceless is the preferred view technology for modern JSF implementations. Why should we learn JSP? There are numerous reasons for us to learn JSP. First one is its extensions to servlet technology will be the very first reason to learn JSP. In JSP, we can use all the functionality of servlet. In addition, speech language, predefined tags, implicit entities, and custom tags can be used in JSP, making it easier for JSP to create. The second reason would be that there is no need to redeploy and recompile the project in case the JSP page is modified. If we have to modify the look and sound of the program, the servlet code has to be revised and recompiled. Third would be about how easy JSP is to maintain and manage as we can conveniently separate the presentation and business logic. Fourth would be in JSP, we can use several tags which reduce the code, such as action tags, JSTL, custom tags, and etc. We may in addition use EL, implied objects, and other things. Life cycle of Java server page. A Java server page lifecycle is defined as the process that started with its creation, which later translated to a servlet and afterward servlet's lifecycle comes into play. This is how the process goes on until its destruction. Following steps are involved in the JSP lifecycle. First one is translation of JSP page to servlet, compilation of JSP page, class loading, instantiation, initialization, request processing, and JSP cleanup. So here is an image of JSP lifecycle. As displayed in the above diagram, JSP page is translated into servlet by the help of JSP translator. The JSP translator is a part of the web server which is responsible for translating the JSP page into servlet. After that, servlet page is compiled by the compiler and gets converted into the class file. Moreover, all the processes that happen in servlet are performed on JSP later, like initialization, committing response to the browser, and destroy. Translation of JSP page to servlet. This is the first step of the JSP lifecycle. This translation phase deals with the syntactic corrections of JSP. Here, test.jsp file to translation to test.java. Compilation of JSP page. Generated Java servlet file is compiled to a class file. Class loading. Servlet class which has been loaded from the JSP source is now loaded into the container. Instantiation. Here an instance of the classes is generated. The container manages one or more instances by providing responses to requests. Initialization. JSP init method is called only once during the life cycle immediately after the generation of servlet instance from JSP. Request processing. JSP service method is used to serve the raise request by JSP. It takes request and response object as parameters. This method cannot be overridden. JSP cleanup. In order to remove the JSP from the use by the container or to destroy the method for servlets, JSP destroy method is used. This method is called once if you need to perform any cleanup task like closing open files, releasing database connection. JSP destroy can be overridden. Applications and advantages of JSP. Standard HTML does not contain dynamic data, whereas JSP does. JSP benefits are fairly straightforward. First of all, the dynamic component is implemented in Java, not Visual Basic or any platform-specific language, so it is smooth and simpler to use. Lastly, it is platform independent. If we compare JSP and SSI, server-side includes is intended only for basic inclusions, not for actual systems that use form data, build like links to database and etc. Writing and modifying standard HTML is more practical than creating lots of HTML generating println statements to generate HTML. JavaScript can generate HTML dynamically on the client but can hardly interact with the web server to perform complex tasks like database access and image processing and other stuff. There are many advantages of JSP over the servlet. There are as follows. First one is extension to servlet. JSP technology is the extension to servlet technology. We can use all the features of the servlet in JSP. In addition to, we can use implicit objects, predefined tags, expression language, and custom tags in JSP. That makes JSP development easy. Easy to maintain. JSP can be easily managed because we can easily separate our business logic with presentation logic. In servlet technology, we mix our business logic with the presentation logic. The third one is fast development. No need to recompile and redeploy. If JSP page is modified, we don't need to recompile and redeploy the project. The servlet code needs to be updated and recompiled if we have to change the look and feel of the application. And the fourth one is less code than servlet. In JSP, we can use many tags such as action tags, JSTL, custom tags like that reduce the code. Moreover, we can use EL implicit objects and other stuff. Let's talk about JSP expression language. Write a JSP. A simple JSP page consists of a HTML markup embedded with the JSP tags. JSP files have the JSP extension. The JSP server is configured to direct an HTTP request to a specific JSP page, which is then responsible for re-rendering an HTTP response. When the request arrives, the file is processed on the server and the HTML is re-rendered as the application view, a web page. The embedded JSP tags will be used to call server-side code and data. The ultimate product of the JSP is well HTML that the client browser can understand as is. The diagram in figure 1 shows the interaction between HTML, JSP and the web application server. So here is the diagram. Overview of a Jakarta server page in a web application. A simple JSP page. Here you see a block of HTML that has a JSP expression. That is an instruction to the Java server written using expression language. Within the expression $sign, the $sign is JSP syntax for interpolating the code into HTML. The $sign with key braces tells the JSP processor, hold on for a second, we are on the brink of begin talking regarding other things special to take to require care of. Once dead, the JSP page can output the results of executing no matter is within the expression. During this case, the output are going to be the number 4. Java Bean. A Java Bean is a Java class that should follow the following conventions. It should have a no-arg constructor. It should be serializable. It should provide methods to set and get the values of the properties known as getter and setter methods. Why we use Java Bean? According to Java white paper, it is a reusable software component. A bean encapsulates many objects into one object so that we can access this object from multiple places. Moreover, it provides easy maintenance. Here is some code of simple example. Here is some simple example for Java Bean class. Expression language in JSP. The expression language simplifies the accessibility of data stored in the Java Bean component and the other objects like request, session, application, etc. There are many implicit objects, operators, and reserves words in EL. JSP operators. JSP operators supports most of its arithmetic and logical operators, which are supported by Java within expression language tags. Frequently used operators are mentioned below. So here are some operators we use frequently. In expression language does not print null values. Functions in JSP expression language. JSP allows you to use function in expressions as well. These functions must be defined in the custom tag libraries. A function usage has the following syntax. The first syntax you can see here, where ns is the namespace of the function, func is the name of the function, and param1 is the first parameter value. For example, the function fn length, which is part of the JSTL library, this function can be used as follows to get the length of a string. So another syntax you can see here. To use a function from any tag library, you must install that library on your server and must include the library in your JSP using the taglib directive as explained in the JSTL chapter. JSP implicit objects. The JSP expression language supports the following implicit objects. You can see the implicit objects here. You can use these objects in an expression as if they were variables. The examples that follow will help you understand the concepts. The page context object. The page context object gives you access to the page context JSP object. Through the page context object, you can access the request object. For example, to access the incoming query string for a request, you can use the following expression. So you can see the following expression that we use to get a request from its incoming query string. The scope objects. The page scope, request scope, session scope, and application scope variables provide access to variables stored at each scope level. For example, if you need to implicitly access the box variable in the application scope, you can access it through the application scope variable as application scope.box. The param and param value objects. The param and param values objects give you access to the parameter values normally available through the request.getParameter and request.getParameter values methods. For example, to access a parameter named order, use the expression below. You can see the expression param.order or param order within square brackets. Following is the example to access a request parameter name username. The param object returns single string values, whereas the param values object returns string arrays. So here is the example. Header and header values objects. The header and header value objects give you access to the header values normally available through the request.getHeader and the request.getHeaders methods. For example, to access a header named userAgent, use the expression header.userAgent or header userAgent within square brackets. Following is the example to access a header parameter named userAgent. So here is the example code. So here is the output for the user agent example. The header object returns single string values, whereas the header value object returns string arrays. So this is the first video of WCD2, which is also known as Web Component Development 2. I hope you enjoyed and thank you for watching.